This is Conversations with a Gender Therapist Q&A, where a gender therapist answers questions from those who are transgender, non-binary, gender questioning, as well as those who love them. I'm your host, Dara Hoffman-Fox, licensed professional counselor. Let's get on to today's question. Hey, so today I'm going to address a couple of questions that were presented by non-binary viewers. And just to make sure I disclose that I myself also identify as non-binary, so I do have some personal experience with this subject. However, do keep in mind that my experience of being non-binary is not going to be the same as anybody else's, actually. So let me touch upon those couple of questions. First of all, Xavier from Northern Ireland asks, do you have any tips on dealing with non-binary erasure? And from an anonymous writer, I have the question of, as a well-endowed, assigned female at birth individual that doesn't really like binders, how do I slip into natural conversation that I'm a mixter and not a Mrs.? So the reason I chose these two questions is because it really hits home the fact that we do live in a world in which non-binary individuals are still, first of all, maybe people don't even know that we exist. And second of all, if they do know we exist, they might not feel like they know enough about it to be able to engage with us properly. And lastly, they might also know we exist, but then feel like perhaps we are a nuisance, that it's just kind of a pain in the butt to have to, I guess, adjust their language and perceptions to be able to help us feel like we are valid. So, yeah, that's kind of a bummer. And the reason I wanted to start off with that point is because it is important to realistically understand that where we are at when it comes to making people aware of non-binary and non-binary identities, we are still early on in this attempt to teach others about this. So that means it's going to require a certain amount of time and patience to be able to get to the point where non-binary is seen and understood just as much as binary identities. And again, I don't want to be too much of a downer, but that could take a couple of generations before we get to that point. And so I think it's important to know that as somebody who is non-binary, that you are indeed going to run into challenges. So when it comes down to it, it's going to have to do with how much are you wanting to visibly be non-binary. That's a really important question to ask yourself, and keep in mind the answer to that question could change over time. Let me give an example of what I mean. For myself, it's been, since 2014 approximately, where I first really started to think about the fact that I might be non-binary. So it was the summer, so it was a little over 3 years ago. And so I've been through different changes when it comes to how visible I am putting myself out there as non-binary. And sometimes it even changes from moment to moment, sometimes from day to day, and even from months to months. There are times where I have been better about letting people know that I prefer not to have the pronoun she or her used over and over and over again. I'm okay with it being used a couple of times, depending on how much somebody's talking about me, but I prefer to have my name used primarily. And like I said, there's times where I'm better at that than others. Sometimes I think it's because I might be just having sort of one of those days where I'm not feeling up to it. And other times I'm feeling more like it is important to speak up and let people know. I'm in that stage right now, and I feel like, actually I hope, this is more of a permanent stage where I do feel like it is important to let people know that. The thing is, it took me a while for me to understand how do I want to be addressed? I did experiment with they, them pronouns for a while. And maybe it's because I'm a little bit older. I'm in my early 40s that I haven't been able to get used to hearing myself referred to using they, them pronouns. I happily use them for people who do want me to use that for them. No problem at all. But it hasn't sat with me in a comfortable way. So that took probably over 2 years for me to realize. And then I realized that when I went to a conference in Boulder, that somebody mentioned that their pronoun is actually their first name. And I thought that was really cool. And so I've started to try to put that out there as, oh, I prefer you just use Dara. Use my name as often as possible. But if you must use a pronoun, you can use she and her, but please very sparingly. I think I only came up with that exact phraseology within the last couple of months. And so now that I'm really comfortable with how that's how I want to be seen and addressed, I'm putting it out there with more certainty. So specifically, how does that help with dealing with non-binary erasure? Like I said, that means that you need to check in with yourself and ask yourself, how much do I want to be visible? How much do I want to speak up? And then you find your own way that you're comfortable doing that. And it's okay if it takes you some time to figure out, how exactly do I want to say this? I know that for myself, I didn't like it when I would bumble and stumble over my words, or I would try to explain something and then I felt like I just made it more complicated instead of more simple. And so it did take me a while to figure out what I wanted to say, but once I got it, now I'm comfortable. Now I can put it out there much more often to people. So think about that. Think about when are you going to be ready to put yourself out there and let it be known, hey, actually, I'm non-binary, or actually, I'm not a Mrs. I go by the term mixter, which is MXTER, or you could just use MX if it's written, and explain to somebody it's the non-binary equivalent of Mr. and Mrs. I don't want to use those. I want to use mixter. That might take you a while to figure out, when do I want to bring that up, in what context. Basically, when do I want to bring it up, and how do I want to then explain to the person what it is that I'm trying to get across. Hey, the scenery has changed. So basically I had to pause the video so I could see a client, and by the time we were done our session, the lighting changed in the office because it got really cloudy and it's going to start raining pretty soon. So I'm really close to my window now so I can get as much natural lighting as possible. Okay, back to the subject at hand, non-binary erasure and the frustrations that can come from that. Something I want you to also do is be sure you're spending time around people who do understand what it means to be non-binary. They get it and they respect you and validate you for it. So this could be people that, for some of you, you may be lucky enough to have whoever you're living with, that they already know about this and they understand it, and that you can just relax and be yourself around them. It could be people that you meet online, and that you might end up connecting with through that way. There might even be people that you know locally. And if you don't yet, see if you have any LGBT centers, not only in the town you live in, but maybe even in the state you live in. It might be worth even driving a little bit to go to a support group or a social group for other people. It could be a group for people who are non-binary, or it can be a group that's queer, that always makes sure that non-binary identities are validated. And so that's something that you can do also. I want to be sure that because such a large percentage of your time is going to be out in the world in which people either don't know about non-binary, or if they do, they don't properly pay attention to what they need to pay attention to. I want to be sure that you're going to be able to take breaks and have times in which you can just know without question you're going to be able to be seen. So, hey, I wanted to thank you for writing in with those questions, and I hope that's able to help. other people out there. That's why I like to do these question and answer sessions, because I know that these are questions that not only one or two people out there in the world have, these are questions that are on the minds of a lot of people. So thank you for watching. If you have any comments you'd like to leave below to help out other people who have these kind of challenges, please offer your advice and suggestions about what you would maybe do in these situations. And be sure to subscribe to the channel, as always, just so you know when I'm posting new information. Thank you for your time, and yeah, I'll catch you later.